High Elves are mostly known for their magic, monsters and archers, and while they're all good, that's just half of the story, because the true power of the Asur comes from their generals. While only a handful of High Elf characters are good fighters, they are at the heart of every glittering host. With the right combination of skills, traits, items and lores of magic, High Elf lords and heroes can turn almost anything into a doomstock. Most High Elf armies are archer stacks, supported by a couple of heroes and a wizard. They are cheap, effective, easily replaceable, and can deal with enemies way above their tier. However, High Elves can pull off every possible playstyle if you specialize the army for it. If you prefer a defensive, missile-focused army, add a couple of Eagle Claw bolt throwers and a lore of light mage, and you can easily deal with twice as many enemies. If melee rush is your thing, you can choose between infantry, cavalry, chariots and monsters. If you want to kite and shoot, or use stalking, hit and run focused build, High Elves can do both. And thanks to their very diverse roster and extreme buffs, High Elves are the faction with the highest number of possible doomstacks in the game. Their roster is composed of elven units and a huge variety of magical monsters and beasts. Most elven units are specialized into a role. Each unit has some key attribute that can provide a tactical advantage on the battlefield. For instance, Phoenix Guard is an anti-large melee frontline unit with a lot of durability through physical resistance. Sword Masters are one of the best anti-infantry units in the game. White Lions are armor-piercing infantry with high missile resistance, while Silver and Guard are shielded and armored anti-large frontline units resistant to magic. So no matter which enemy you go up against, High Elves can tailor their armies specifically against them. But the most powerful units in the High Elf roster are their hybrids, like Loten Sea Guard and Sisters of Avalon. For the most part, you can easily go through the entire campaign with just these units, and with the right buffs, they can become some of the most cost-effective armies in the entire game. However, even with all these tools, High Elves do have some weak links. High Elf melee cavalry will usually underperform. There are exceptions, like Eltharion Reavers with bows or fully buffed Dragon Princes with Imrik, but the rest are usually only useful for running down broken enemy units. The same issue applies to their melee infantry. While it's possible to buff each one of them to a crazy level, it's more often than not very ineffective. It would require a ton of resources and trait farming, and even then, you will end up with an army that's just weaker than a full archer or a monster stack. Both of these unit types suffer from the same problem: low durability. They have low health pools and low HP per model. Most of them have no resistances, relying only on armor and shields for protection, which in most scenarios is not enough. While Silver Hounds and Eltharion Reavers are fast, their damage is low. As for melee infantry, they're the opposite. Some of them can do great damage in melee, but their speed, even if it's high for melee infantry, is usually not enough to deal with artillery shots across the field or fast enemy units, which are numerous in Warhammer battles. But if you really want to use them, High Elves are definitely a race that can make them work. Still, they also have strengths that bring them to the very top of the list of strongest factions in battles. First, High Elves have one of the best tier 0 units in the game, the Archers. They come with very long range and solid missile damage, they are cheap and easy to replace, and can wreck most early game enemies. But High Elves also have many amazing archer units throughout the entire campaign. Very early, you have access to Loten Sea Guard, which are much more durable and decent in melee, and later on, you can choose Sisters of Avalon, a strong armor-piercing archer unit. High Elves also excel at magic. From the very beginning, they have access to every generic lore of magic, plus their own lore of high magic. With enough levels, every Archmage has the potential to become very powerful in battles and solve many campaign scenarios on its own. Just a single Archmage can be more than enough to defend the settlement. Monsters are another powerful unit type in Warhammer 3, and High Elf monsters are among the best. Not only they are strong, but they also bring a lot of utility through flying, breath attacks, or vortex abilities. With easy access to life magic, their monsters can always provide great value in battles. High Elves also solve one of the biggest weaknesses of any missile faction that relies on artillery for sieges. While most such units have to stay in the back line, well guarded behind other units, High Elf Skycutters with bolt throwers are fast enough to escape any potential attacker, and you can even use them as baits. But the biggest strength of High Elves is the numerous buffs that they can get to their armies. High Elves are masters of small buffs, which quickly become very powerful once you stack enough of them. The resistant trait can boost the durability of your entire army, while Frugal, Ardent and Punitive will massively increase the missile damage of your units. Honed and Crushing can do the same for melee units, while Exhilarated and Flammable can make your Phoenixes immortal. But that's just your traits. Every High Elf Lord and hero can further boost specific units. With enough of those small buffs stacked, together with the support of magic, even the basic High Elf units can become powerful armies. As most High Elf damage comes from their missile units, the biggest issue are enemies with cheap, shielded and numerous bodies. Greenskins or Skaven can field huge armies of shielded, low-cost goblins or clan rats, which can negate a lot of arrows and do significant damage to low armor, low melee defense archers once they get into melee. On top of that, since High Elves are so specialized and most of their balance of power lies in their ammunition, it's usually not a good idea to even waste shots on these targets. Therefore, magic is usually the best tool against such enemies, as the right spell can clear huge numbers of entities. Any infantry-based army can also struggle against AoE artillery or abilities, as they can quickly destroy huge portions of your army. Tzeentch is another enemy that can be a significant threat. They bring a lot of fast and flying units in loose formations that are not always easy to shoot. Strong missile attacks that can easily outtrade archers once in range, and all of their units come with a barrier that can soak up a lot of your missile fire. Monsters and magic are the best solution in the late game. But if you have to face Tzeentch early on, chariots are actually a really good option. They are fast and hard-hitting, can disrupt Tzeentch missile attacks, and are also fairly resistant to early game spells. And they do not lose value easily, thanks to their high HP per model. Monster builds should always be careful around missile units, especially dragons. With large hitboxes and slow turning speed, they can take a lot of damage quickly, even from basic archers. Even with all great unit options, High Elf armies are usually simple. The best option is archer stacks with a few support units and heroes. This is one of the most cost-effective High Elf comps, from archers to Lot and Seaguard all the way to the Sisters of Avalon. You should always bring some bolt throwers for sieges. Against specific enemies like Skaven or Tzeentch, you can add a few chariots, which will quickly steamroll over huge masses of weak infantry. You are always better off without a front line, as you have more room in your armies for damage dealers, and heroes can provide enough stopping power. But if you really want some, you can choose between few spear infantry options, or even better, oceanids or sea elementals. Unlike melee infantry, which can take a lot of friendly fire, they bring a ton of resistances, which not only help them hold the line, but also protect them from friendly arrows. If you need to deal with enemy artillery, cheap Great Eagles and War Lions are always a better choice than cavalry. Rangers are another solid early game option against mass infantry enemies. As for heroes, you have two options. A light wizard, which can root enemies in place with Net of Amintok, and a noble, which provides casualty replenishment, are the most common choices. But later on, you can use a couple of handmaidens for the same job. They also provide replenishment, and with their ability Entangle, they can provide the same control as a light wizard. Which one you will choose in the long run mostly depends on what traits you have available for your heroes. Once you reach the late game, you can start recruiting some of the best monster doomstacks in the game. Dragons are strong melee fighters with anti-infantry breath attacks. Phoenixes can become immortal with enough heroes with a flammable trait, providing them with extra ward save. Mealworms are the latest addition to the High Elf roster. These large beasts come with regen and very high weapon damage, making them perfect against any single entity. All but Mealworms require a Lore of Life mage for healing. Archmages and Sea Helms are the best generals for monster doomstacks, providing them with healing, speed and numerous melee buffs. A Mist Mage, while not the best damage dealer, can provide a lot of survivability through stalk and missile resistance. Each High Elf legendary lord specializes in specific units and opens up a lot of new options for army comps. Tyrion is one of the better fighting lords in the game, and he drastically reduces the upkeep of basic units in his army. Usually he is fine with just an archer stack and a Lore of Life wizard until very late in the campaign. His mechanics are all campaign oriented, and he does not provide any unique buffs to his army, so you can pick whatever you want. Teclis is one of the most powerful spellcasters and another lord who can become a one-man doomstack and doesn't really need an army. He doesn't boost any specific unit in his army, but he can always benefit from more winds of magic, so a mage doomstack is always a good choice. He provides 10% ward save to all mages and lore masters, making him essential if you want to make lore master hero doomstack. Imrik is the master of dragons and dragon princes and provides significant boosts to these units while also reducing their upkeep. A full star dragon stack with his special dragons is his best late game army. But if you want to play with cavalry, he can definitely make Dragon Princes work, providing them with speed, physical resistance, and melee buffs. Alith Anar is the best general for stalking armies. You can choose between Shadow Warriors and Shadow Walkers, depending on how long you're willing to wait for recruitment. Shadow Walkers come with poison missile attacks, which makes kiting easier, but they also take 2 turns to recruit. Alariel is the Ever Queen of Ultuan, a powerful spellcaster and one of the best High Elf generals. She greatly boosts Sisters of Avalorn, making them her best Doomstack, but that's just one of Alariel's options. Her unique item, Shieldstone of Isha, provides all nearby units with physical resistance, while she also has access to Lure of High Magic passive effect when casting any spell, so she can increase her army's ward save while healing them. This interaction greatly improves any army under her command. And if you choose to start a campaign with her faction, she gets access to Wood Elf Forest Spirits. Treemen become another of Alariel's Doomstack options, which she further buffs with melee stats. Eltharion is another top-tier High Elf general and leader of some of the strongest Doomstacks in the game. He provides a lot of buffs to spear infantry, together with unlimited ammunition for missile units. Loten Seaguard, being a hybrid spear and archer unit, benefits the most from his buffs. However, in his faction, he gets access to unique Mistwalker units and special buffs from Atel Tamara Prison. These units are some of the best in the game in their respective roles, and Eltharion boosts them even further, granting them stalk along with melee and missile strength. Combined with special mirror abilities, Mistwalkers form some of the strongest Doomstacks in the game, like Knights of Torgaval and Sentinels of Astariel. Aislin is the High Elf Navy Lord. His best early game army is Loten Seaguard. He provides them with stalk, missile strength, and on-use snipe. He also provides Unbreakable to sea monsters, so you can easily include Oceanids or Sea Elementals as a front line if you feel you need them. But he also greatly boosts Merworms, granting them plus 10 melee attack, extra weapon strength, and physical resistance, while reducing their upkeep. Under his command, Merworms are one of the strongest High Elf Doomstacks. If you start the campaign as Aislin, he also gets his dragon ships and army abilities, which are extremely powerful. Alastar is a special lord, available from turn 1 if you play as Tyrion. He is the captain of the White Lions, providing many bonuses to all lion units. In his army, White Lions get extra speed, melee stats, vanguard deployment, anti-infantry and anti-large bonuses, while also costing less in upkeep. He boosts them so much that with some heroes, they can even become a viable melee infantry Doomstack. Caradrian is the captain of the Phoenix Guard and the only High Elf legendary hero. He provides these units with 10% extra ward save and magical attacks, and can even revive dead Phoenix Guard units after a battle. This is another potential melee infantry Doomstack available to High Elves, which, when fully boosted, can reach maximum resistances. High Elves received a rework with the Tides of Torment DLC, but their playstyle did not change at all. They have always been a dominant force in the strongest unit types in Total War Warhammer: magic, missiles and monsters, and they only got more tools to work with. The core of their playstyle is simple to grasp, making them a perfect faction for learning the game. But once you master all the tricks, High Elves open up endless options for optimization and tactics. See ya.